is a read and react kind of an offense mixed with some dribble drive and pick and roll. It's an offense that creates a lot of pressure on the defense, but it's a lot of fun for the players. There's a lot of opportunity for great shots, a lot of opportunities for three-pointers, layups, and many other things. So understanding this and what we're trying to accomplish, the first thing that we're trying to accomplish at a Rocket, we're trying to get dribble penetration. We're trying to get the ball inside some way, somehow. Ideally, it's through dribble penetration, or it's through a duck pass or getting the pass or the ball into the post coming off the pick and roll. The second thing that we're trying to accomplish out of Rocket is we are trying to get easy shots. The first shot that we're trying to accomplish out of Rocket is a free throw. A lot of people try to get layups right away, but we're trying to get free throws. We're trying to get in there with dribble penetration and cause the team to help and overhelp and get fouls. The next shot we're trying to achieve are layups. So we always got to practice finishing hard at the rim and different drills to get a feel of how it's going to feel to play against teams when they have to help the helper. Next shot that we're trying to achieve is an open three-pointer. With our dribble penetration, teams are going to help, and with them helping, we're going to get open shots, open threes. So we're trying to get free throws, layups, then an open three. Those are the shots that we're trying to get an ideal for Rocket, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. The third thing, and a really good reason why I like Rocket, is you're always going to get an open shot. It's a read and react type of offense, and it forces team to help. If you have a great guard and a strong guard that can dribble penetrate and come off the pick and roll, you're always going to get a 4-on-3. Always going to get a 4-on-3 opportunity. And when you get that 4-on-3 opportunity, you're going to force the defense to help. You're going to force the defense to help the helper. And with this offense, and as we're going to go through this tutorial, you're going to see the numerous of options that these guys will have when a defense is shifting out of position. So Rocket is a great offense. Again, you have 3 to 4 strong guards and great post players, even small post players, because it turns into a 4-out, 1-in as well. So I hope this tutorial is very helpful. I hope it helps you to get an understanding. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, give me a phone call. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoy. Right here, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the alignment of our players. So when looking at the basket and we're going towards the basket, we break the court up with even and the odd. So odd are going to be on the left, even are going to be on the right. So the guy that is circled, that's the guy with the ball, that's our point guard. He can start anywhere on the top of this floor in Rocket. He can be in any position over here. Anytime the guard on the 2 side, so it's on the even side, guard on the 2 side, or the guard on the ball side will be in the deep corner. Now we call this deep corner. You got to picture the sideline, the 3-point line. We want this guard to be right here in the deep corner because the defense is going to have to make a decision when we talk about this more and what he does in Rocket. The guard or the post player, the forward on the side of the ball, he is going to be at the block coming up to set the screen. In transition, it's a little bit different. You have the post player coming down and setting the screen here. But you have the post player right here, the forward on the ball side, since it's on the right hand side. The guard away from the ball, essentially if you want to call it the weak side, this we will call the 45. It's the free throw line. He is above the free throw line. He is about the NBA line, volleyball line at the 45. And then you have the 5 right here at the 5 side block on the left hand side. This is the 5, and we call this outside of the lane lines. We call those alley. So the 5 is here on the block to the outside in the alley area. This is the 45. This is the weak side guard. The strong side guard, again, he is in the deep corner. We call this the deep corner. And then the point guard is anywhere up here at the top. So in Rocket, we have 2 ways we can go about it. Use a screen or refuse a screen. So what we're going to focus on right now is refuse a screen, and we call that refuse a screen series. All these right here, these are 18 different things the team can do at one point in time when we're in Rocket. And we're going to talk about this and discuss the majority of these in this tutorial. But one of the first things that we're trying to accomplish is the first thing that we'll talk about is refuse attack. And when I show you what we're going to do there is we want the guard to get downhill, and he's attacking, looking to score. Next, we have a refuse pitch, refuse attack, pitch dive. Now, these are just some of the words and some of the things that we use, but these are the 18 different things that our guys can do by just refusing the screen. Our guard has all these different options, so it's going to be our task and our mission to teach our guards and our players how to play this offense. And this is a team offense that they have to learn how to play. But these are just 18 things that they can accomplish and that they can do out of Rocket. What we're going to talk about right here is a refusal series in Rocket. And we're going to kind of break it down and talk about what we're trying to look for within our guards and look for in our posts. So first thing we want to talk about is our guard. Our guards need to first get north and south. Their task and their job is to force their man on top of the screen. They want, if they use it, he want to forces his man to go on over the screen. If he refuses it, he wants to make sure he can get his man caught up in the screen to create a 4-on-3 situation. What we like here for our guards is to at least get 2 dribbles north and south. So if you look at this diagram, we have one change move between the legs, behind the back, in and out crossover, whatever it may be, or keep it in your right hand and just do a jab step in and out, whatever the case may be. But the guard needs to get as close as possible to his screener and get downhill. We want to make this change move, and we want to take 2 dribbles. We want to get downhill north and south. I know this is a little rounded. We would like for him to get downhill north and south. And the reason and purpose behind that is because now this guard right here has to make a decision. X2 has to make a decision. Either he's going to come in and help, or he's going to stay in the deep corner and force this guy to help. So if this guard, number one, can get downhill and force a 4-on-3 situation, we have some great options, and that's what we're about to talk about. Next, our post player. What we like to tell our post player is sprint to screen, get your butt to the corner, get your butt to the opposite corner, get your butt to the opposite corner. But he must sprint. He needs to create separation from X4, which would make it a lot easier on both of them in this pick and roll situation. But we need him to sprint to the screen and sit down, butt to corner, and stand and sit like a statue. It is the guard's responsibility to get as close to the screen as possible. If they move or go before the post player set, that's when you get some issues. That's what you get some situations. So again, that's what the point guard job is to do, or any guard that has the ball, is to attack and look to score. The guys with the ball, you need to understand, they need to have a mindset to score first, then pass. That's what we're trying to accomplish out of this. If we have a guy that's pass first and then attack, it puts us in trouble. But just picture Westbrook. That's what we're trying to get these guys to be like, is Russell Westbrook coming off a pick and roll. Next, so let's talk about this. He comes off, his first job is to attack. If X2 comes over, we like to tell this guy, we typically want to put a good shooter right here in this deep corner. We put a great shooter here and we're in great position. But we're going to talk about, again, the 2 in the deep corner. The point guard comes off hard and he attacks downhill and he's trying to score. If X2 comes over and helps on 1, what we have to do here is we call a pitch. And all the pitch is X is in his deep corner. He's going to sprint up. Point guard comes off, he attacks, and we like to make sure he jump stops first and then call the pitch. I would rather him be a little bit later on the pitch than earlier on the pitch, because if he's too early, he brings his man to the play. But if he sits in his deep corner and be patient, he can read and see what his man does. Because then if his man tries to overplay the pitch, then we like to call that a burn on the back door. So let's look at this. He refuses, he jump stops, he can't score. This guard on the play side will call a pitch. He will call a pitch, and he'll call an immediate pitch. And what we're trying to get here with the pitch, ideally, is what we like to do is either get a jump shot for a 3, or we're going to end up passing it to this 5 coming up on a hammer, and we'll show that soon. But we're looking for that 3 to the hammer. Now the post player on the ball side, he's going to come, put his butt to the corner, and then he will yell pop. When they pop, he will reverse open. So I need you to picture his butt to the corner, and he will reverse out open, throwing his left elbow back, and he's coming to the top of the key. This is awesome opportunity for those post players that can shoot the three. If he can shoot the three, then we put some more pressure on X4 if he's a guy that likes to try to come and try to jump the play hard. But if he can shoot or penetrate, we're in great shape. So some of the options again is this pitch to the three. The next option we can have is he attacks and then we hit this pop here if X4 is down. So again, what we try to do is create a 4-on-3 situation. So this is why you talk about refusal, because there's so many things you can do. So as he refuses, he gets north and south. If X2 stays with 2, then 2, or the point guard, is going to have some great options. Somebody has to help, whether it's 3 or 5, they have to help. But most likely what's going to happen is going to be X5. So again, remember I talked about the lane line to the alley. On the refusal, the 5, he will be on the alley. And he will clean up to the second hash. So picture his shoulders facing this direction into the basket, reading. His eyes are reading X5. 5 is not looking at the ball, but he has to read his man. If his man comes and help, we have this clean right here. We have this clean. We call that a clean. And then on a guard on the backside, he has to read what his man does. So again, this offense is creating a defensive scramble and help if this guy gets downhill north and south. He refuses and he attacks and gets downhill. If X5 comes and helps the point guard, the next help and the only help they have is X3. If X3 comes down and plays the clean, the backside guard, which is the 3, the weak side, he's at the 45, he will yell a window. And a window pass is if you can look right here and just imagine a window between the clean and the defense, there's a window. The point guard would come, he would do a jump stop and then have to do a jump pass calling the window. He calls this window, some of the things that we're trying to accomplish is a jump shot, penetration to a duck. If the point guard breaks down below the block, we have this drift. We call that a drift. So again, he attacks, the 4 sprints the screen, he yells pop. Now, if we hit the pitch, like we talked about before, if we hit this pitch, automatically the post that hit the pop or did the pop will automatically dive to the ball side block. He will dive hard. We're looking here to hit the dive and looking for this post up. 1 hits the pitch and he will fill out to the same side, ball side, deep corner. The 2 he called pitch, he has the pitch, and now from the clean, the opposite post player, which is a 5, will come to the middle of the floor to create this separation from his man and sprint up to the top, and we call that a hammer. So we hit this pitch to the hammer. It's a 4 out, 1 in kind of a look. Great options right there. So again, we hit the pitch. We have the dive by the 4. The 5 will clean to hammer, as you can see here. Now, some of the great things we have here is, again, X2 stays on his man. If X5 comes in help, we have this bounce pass to the clean. The pop stays high. The 3 goes to the window to the drift. So if X5 comes over, if you have a guy that can dunk, maybe throw a lob pass to the clean, he gets up, dunks a ball, creates some energy for the team. But nonetheless, these guys need to be in the athletic stance. Everybody needs to be ready to shoot. Everybody needs to be able to read their man and not watch the ball. If you're watching the ball, you're not seeing what's going on and you're going to be late. So that's something that is very important that we need to make sure that we talk about consistently is read your man. Don't read the ball right away. The ball will tell you where to go and your man is going to tell you what you do when the ball goes to that direction. So again, if we hit the pitch, he will dive. The 5 will hammer. The 3 always stays backside to the window, or he will hit the drift if the guard breaks the plane of the block. Next, we have, again, like I talk about the window, we can hit this window pass. If you see here, X3 comes and helps on the clean, we call that a window. We call that a window. X5 comes over and help, X1. X4 stays on the pop, X2 stays here. We will call this a window. If the point guard breaks the plane of the block, We call that a drift. So those are the basic alignments or some of the basic movements within Rocket. And all of this happens simultaneously. This is quick reads that these guys have to make. They have to make these as a quick read. So it is very important that we get our guys to read their man and see the ball. Read their man and see the ball. That's very important that we get our guys to do that. And again, we have a mismatch with the 4 out, 1 in. If the point guard hits the pop, we have a high-low with the 5. So let's come back here real quick so you can see to the pitch. If we hit this pitch right here, we look for this dive here and we can get a post up. But if we hit this hammer here, this opposite post player, if he's a shooter, he has an option to shoot that 3. He has to read his man. If it's a shooter and his man closes out soft, then he has a chance to hit that 3-pointer. And we're going to work on that shot enough in practice to where he should feel confident to hit that 3. If his man closes out hard, he can rip and penetrate away from the 2-guard side, and then we have a 3-guard side, and we penetrate. X3 comes and helps 5, and then we have this kick. But again, if you have a post player that can come up here and shoot this 3, awesome. He can't shoot the 3, that's okay if he can't shoot it as long as he can catch, because once he catches it, we should have a high-low situation. Because if a team is fronting you and he dives, he has to get to the front. Then we'll swivel or open up our hips and hit this high-low. So again, this is just a refusal series. There's so many different things that you can do and more that we will cover. And one of the other things that I'll talk about real quick is a burn. If this pitch isn't here, 2 makes that read, 2 hard steps like he's coming on the pitch, then he will go on a back door, and we call that a burn. Again, the 4 will stay pop. The 5 will clean to a tee up to a drop 5. Information to the refuse series so you understand how to keep this continuous. Once the point guard hits the pitch, again, he fills to the ball side deep corner. He's going to fill that deep corner no matter what, even if he hits the window. Once this 2 hits the hammer, okay, the 2 will now go to the 45. You will have the point guard here in the deep corner, and now you have the 3 that's going to end up having the ball, and then you're going to have the 5 with the ball up at the top with the hammer, and then you have the 4 that's going to be here on the alley or the block. So how to keep this continuous, the 2 hits the 5 on the hammer pass. The 5 will do those options, looks high-low, looks to shoot, looks to rip and score. If none of those are there, the 5 will swing the ball to the 3, and the 3 is now considered the guard with the ball. Now we have a 2-man action. The 5 will swing the ball to the 3. He will take his man down to the 3-point line, and he will come set a drag screen. Ideally, again, we will want his butt to the corner, away from the ball. But we want him to come here instead of drag screen. He has different options. He can set this drag screen here. If it's a guy that can pop, if the 3 uses, he can pop. Again, if he refuses, now we have a lot of options, a lot of windows and gaps, because now you have imagine the point guard in this corner, 2 at the 45, and then the 4. This guy refuses. He has all of this real estate to have some things open, and the 5 will pop again. 5 gets it, he hits this drag screen. If he decides to run a snake or slip, he'll fake the drag screen and slip to this block. The 4 would immediately come set this pick and roll. Those are the different options. The other thing I wanted to add is anytime the ball is thrown over a post player's head, whether it's in the pick and roll, whether it is in, or whether it's window, anytime the guard throws the ball over the post player's head, this post player, so if the 1 came down and throws his window pass, his man is over here to help. If you see this, we have great post up position. Hit this window, the 5 will then, we call this a duck. He will duck in hard on the 5, underneath the basket, bury him underneath the rim. The 3 will have this option of 1, we want to look for, if he has a shot, look for the shot. 2, if he's not a shooter, let's look in for this duck. So again, the 5 will clean, window. He will duck under the rim. The 3 will make this bounce pass at a great angle to the 5, layup. If that's not there, then we have all of our action. 1 1000, 2 1000. He doesn't have the ball. He gets out. Then he'll come set the screen. Then the offense starts over, butt to corner. We just have a 2-man action over here, but everything else is the same. So I hope this additional information clears out how to keep it continuous. Again, if you have questions, please write them down. Send me an email. Shoot me a phone call. Thanks. Some of the terminology that we will use for the use in Rocket. Now, as you can see in Rocket, you still have so many options. You have about 10 options that you can do when you use the screen. However, it's not as many as you have when you refuse a screen. So when we are actually in Rocket, we want to refuse before we use the screen. But inevitably, you're going to have to use the screen if you're going to use a pick and roll. But here are some of the actions. As you can see, use attack. Again, we want our guard to have a scoring mentality and a scoring mindset like Westbrook. And then you have, the pocket or the lob. That's essentially the roll pass. And then you have the punch, and we'll talk about all these all these different options. But these are just some of the words and terminology that we're going to be using throughout the season when the guard uses the screen. Right now, what we're going to talk about is using the screen and use series of the screen. A lot of the same concepts are still there. Terminology is going to change. But no matter what we're trying to do out of this offense is we're trying to get dribble penetration, trying to get the ball inside, and we're trying to accomplish and get wide open shots. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get wide open shots and trying to cause a lot of pressure on the defense with our dribble penetration. Either they're going to foul us or we're trying to get easy shots. So again, what we're trying to do with our point guard is he has to come off and use the screen. He wants to set his man up. He needs to, again, do a change move. Either it's between the legs, behind the back, do a spin move, a little shift of the hips. But he needs to get his man into the screen. He needs to get his man and force him and try to get him over the screen. And the reason why we're trying to get him over the screen is then that causes a 2-on-1. So either we get a hard head, soft head, switch, whatever the case may be, we're trying to create this 4-on-1. When we get downhill, this guy does not make a decision until 2 dribbles, or what we'll say is when he gets to the nail or the nail area, that's when he makes a decision. Whether he hits this kick, punch, he has the roll, or the lift. So right here, this guard, again, this is our 45 because he's on the weak side away from the ball. We call this a kick. If the point guard is coming down and he penetrates and X3 comes over and helps, then we have this kick. Again, we don't make that decision till 2 dribbles after. Next, the 2 guard that's in the deep corner because he's on the ball side, he lifts. Now this lift, we will say it's late to lift. Be late to lift. The reason why we want him to be late to lift is so we can open up either this roll more or open himself up more. So the reason why you got to understand that is when he comes off, the 4 rolls, now either he has to help or the 2 helps. And most likely, and it is always, 2 that comes over and helps on the roll. So they may take away the roll. So that's why if you have a shooter here, you come and you hit this lift. Now you have a shooter hitting this 3. Now you're opening up the floor a little bit more. So again, a kick, lift. Be late to lift. Post players. Again, we want him to sprint and create separation from the defense, but the corner. And the purpose behind him having butt the corner, that it's a longer angle if teams want to go under the screen, and it forces teams to go over the screen. So if X1 wants to go under in his butt to the corner, he has a longer angle to cover rather than being flat with his butt toward the sideline. He can get straight across. So that's something that's very important that we have to understand, is the butt to the corner so we can force the defense to go over the screen, and we want that because it creates a 4-on-3. When the point guard comes off the screen, we have his shoulder coming off the screen. The opposite post player, 5 or the 4, this is the 5, he's in the alley, he's going to punch hard on X5 because X5 is going to be in the middle of the floor at the midline. That's what teams are probably going to teach. He's going to punch in hard immediately off of this penetration. And the reason for that is it occupies 5. You might be like, well, it doesn't open up the roll. Well, the roll should be wide open if X2 stays on the shooter. If X2 comes over and helps on the roll, then no. X4 is going to have to make a decision. If they switch, then we have a mismatch. And then that's when you hit the lift, and then we hit this thing called the duck. But we want to punch in when the 1 comes off the screen, not before, but when the 1 comes off the screen, off the shoulder of the post player setting the screen, we want to hit this or look for this punch. Again, this is a punch. He's going to step with his inside leg, chop hard, step in, and call for the ball to his outside hand, turning away from the defense. Next, when this post player rolls, we want him to sprint out. So we're saying his inside shoulder, so this is his left shoulder. He's going to turn this shoulder on top and sprint to the basket or to the block. That's very important that we tell him to sprint to the block because this is going to force more help. And that's why we want him to sprint, because it's going to create more separation between 4 and is going to force 2 to help more. He's late to lift, but again, we want him to sprint out to the block, not to the short corner, but to the block for an easy pass. So let's talk about a few things here. Oh, apologize about that. The point guard comes off and say he hits the lift. Anytime we hit the lift, we are not going to re-screen the pick and roll. Remember what I told you again in the refuse series is when the ball is thrown over a post player's head, they will duck. So if the point guard hits this lift, again, late to lift, he hits the lift. The 2 is looking for a jump shot to a post up. Again, jump shot to a post up. If he's not a strong shooter, you look for a post up to the pass rather than a jump shot. The point guard must feel opposite of where he passed to the deep corner. He wants to take his man away from the post up. Anytime we hit the lift, the opposite post player will hammer up. Again, like I told you, this turns into a 4-on-1 offense. So once he hammers up, now it's a 4-on-1 situation. We have all of our guys outside, and then we have the post up, strong post up. When he ducks with X4 helping on the point guard, his duck would be a deep duck again under the basket like a punch. Looking for this duck, easy basket. We want to probably do a drop step and finish that. But again, like I talked in the refusal series, we want to take our man in and hammer up to the top of the key. The point guard would feel opposite corner, deep corner. The 3 is staying at the 45. Now we have this hammer to a duck. Again, anytime we hit the lift, we look for this duck, hammer. We hit the hammer, we have that high-low. So if we hit the hammer, here are some of the options. The lift throws the ball to the hammer. Now we have the same situation, 1 in the deep corner. We have this 3. We have the 2. The 2 is now, again, he's on the weak side, and since he's the only guard on the weak side, he will come to the 45. We hit the hammer. Here are the guards, the post player's option after hitting the hammer. If he's a shooter, look to shoot. If he can penetrate, look to rip and attack. Ideally, we want him to attack this time to the opposite side of where he got the ball. Essentially, is where they should always attack, to high-low. The high-low should be there anytime a team tries to front. So we hit this hammer. Great situation. We got some options here. And then again, if he can't do any of those things, we throw the ball over here to the kick. We'll come set this drag screen right here, butt to the corner, and then the offense starts over again. If he refuses, then we have the pitch. If he uses, again, late to lift, the whole process starts over. Next, if we come to the screen, the point guard again uses the screen. He gets to the nail area. We hit this kick. He ducks because remember he punches. And again, it's with the punch. He has that spacing. He continues to duck in. Now it becomes a duck because the ball is towards him. Then we look for the duck to the 2-man action game coming this way. Anytime I don't know if I mentioned, anytime we hit the lift, we will not re-screen. Once the point guard hits the kick, we want him to just refill where he was at. So he goes to the 45, then we have the 2. And the reason why is because we have a 2-man game. If we have this, if this 5 is a shooter, he'll come set the screen. If he uses the screen on a 2-man game and it's a 5 and he uses the screen and it's a 5 that can shoot, he can pop to the 3, he can pop to the short corner, or if it's not a shooter, he rolls hard to the block, and you have a lot of options when that happens. So again, like I was talking about, we have the 2-man game. If he uses, he can pop, or he can roll to the basket, or he can refuse it, and again, if he refuses, he will pop. So those are the different options when we use the screen. But the most important piece into using a screen, and there's different options and different types of screens that we will use with different type of offenses, whether it's an aggressive ice kind of a situation, we'll run a flat screen, then we have a waggle screen, then we have a twist screen. Many variety to our screens that we're able to do. We can even probably hit a rollout screen, which is almost like a flat screen. If he refuses, he pops. If he uses it, he'll continue to roll or pop opposite. Two-man game, two-man action. But those are the options out of the U series when we're in Rocket. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial about Rocket, and I hope you found it very informative and helps you in this up and coming season. Again, out of Rocket, what we're trying to create are easy baskets and easy buckets for these guys. Being able to play freely and letting these guys use their athletic ability to play and make plays. This offense is a read and react, dribble drive, and pick and roll offense all combined into one. And if we can get our guys to read this and understand and figure out how to play within this offense, you can run it against a zone, you can run it against a man. It keeps them in the flow continuously throughout the whole entire game, which is what we're trying to do. Eliminate thinking, but allow the guys to play. So with multiple reps and multiple opportunities, we're going to have a very successful team. I don't question that. I don't doubt that. We're going to be better than what we have been in the past. So that makes me very excited. So again, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you understand what we're trying to accomplish out of Rocket. Dribble penetration, easy layups, free throws, and a team cohesive offense that allows everybody to use their strength. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, call me, and we'll clear this up. But again, I hope this found this informative. I'm excited to be playing with you guys and coaching next to you next season.